What's up everybody, how's it going? It's BenQ aka Dansg08 here, and this is part one of a three-part series about how I make my videos on YouTube, all the way from the first sitting down to record the content to the thing that you end up watching on YouTube itself. I get asked a lot about my YouTube process, what kind of equipment I use, how do I edit, how do I record, and all that kind of stuff. And I thought it's about time that I put together a little bit of a series about how I do all this stuff. Maybe you guys will learn something new from it. Maybe you guys are also wanting to do similar things, or you've always been curious about the process. You want to see what kind of work goes into it and what kind of equipment is needed to do it, etc. And maybe I'll learn something new as well, because I don't come from a media background. I never had an education and that kind of stuff. I've just always sort of made it up as I go along. I've watched other people do it. I've done research online and that kind of stuff. So I've sort of come up with a workflow and a system that works for me, but maybe there's ways to make it better, or maybe there's some good things from my workflow that you guys can take and use as well. So whether it's just for curiosity or whether you're here to learn something, let's get into it and talk about how I record my videos. All right guys, now it's time to talk about the actual equipment that I use in order to make my videos. So on my right, I've got my PC for my PC recording, and on my left, I have my PS4 recording setup. So this is effectively the TV that I use in order to do my PS4 recording, and it's here as a proxy so that you guys can kind of see how it all works. So down the middle I have my commentary stuff, which is going to be common to both setups, so I just left that one down the middle for you guys. So let's begin with this side with the PS4 stuff that I need to record, because there's more kind of individual parts that I personally need for my recording than for the PC setup, because a lot of it is kind of all in here. So PS4 first. So in order to record my content from the PS4, believe it or not, I need a PS4. So this is exactly what I've got here. This is I'm pretty sure it's a launch model. It's the one that I brought from the UK. So it's one of the early release ones. It's not a PlayStation Slim. I later brought a PS4 Slim for use in the UK, so that I don't have to carry this one around to London, between London and Istanbul, whenever I want to do PS4 recording. So of course we have the PS4. I have my TV inside, which this is kind of a stunt double of right now. During the B-roll footage that you'll be seeing of me playing and recording, that's the setup that I use when I'm in Istanbul. So when I'm here, I like to record my PS4 in my living room, because I get the luxury of kind of playing on my living room TV, and I get to sit on my couch and just be a lot more relaxed and feel a lot more comfortable when I'm recording. But back home in London, I record in my bedroom. So my PC and my PS4 recording setup are on the same thing. So I use the same TV for both setups, and I'm actually sitting on a chair and sort of close to my desk and that kind of thing. But what you're going to see is B-roll footage from both, so you kind of see how they both look. But in terms of the actual equipment, so we have the PS4. I use a laptop in order to record the content that's coming from the PS4, and the magic box that makes that happen is right here. So what we have here is a device called the Elgato HD60S, and this little device here is what makes it possible for me to record from the PS4 in pretty good quality and in ways that the PS4 itself cannot provide. So with this box here, all it does is basically you take a HDMI cable from your PS4 and you put it into this particular socket here. Then you take a second HDMI cable and you plug it out from here and attach it to your TV. So it literally serves as a middleman between your PS4 and your TV. Now, the important part is this little socket here. It's a little USB-C socket. And with this one, you hook this one up to a PC or a laptop from which you use to do your recording. So the setup is PS4, HDMI to this, HDMI out to the TV, and then we have a USB cable that runs from this to my laptop. So the laptop that I have is a Dell XPS 15. So this was a laptop that I researched a lot before buying, because I wanted to make sure I had the power to do the hard work. So the recording, the editing, the rendering, and all that kind of stuff. But I also wanted it to be able to kind of have a decent battery life, so I could use it for more office work as well. So, when I needed to word process, when I needed to internet browse and all that kind of stuff. So the gaming laptops around at the time, I think I got this in 2016. The gaming laptops around at the time, almost all of them didn't have very good battery life, because they were so focused on raw power, and they didn't have the ability to last for 7 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours. So this was a device that I found that had a really good processor for the time for a laptop. It has a GTX 1050 graphics card, which It's not amazing. It can't play like AAA games in ultra quality or anything like that. But for a lot of the kind of stuff that I play, so, you know, if you're playing like Final Fantasy X on Steam, or you're playing Final Fantasy 13, or those kind of games, it tends to hold up quite well. And for games like Tomb Raider and stuff, you can play it in pretty much high quality in 1080p with little worry. This thing right here has served me really well. I personally think it's quite a sexy laptop as well. It's quite sleek. A lot of people in Turkey that have seen it have commented on how nice it looks, because it's not a laptop that's very commonly found in Turkey. But for me personally, other than having a slightly more powerful graphics card, it pretty much ticks all of the boxes. And for the budget that I had, there was only one laptop which was better, but that was kind of outside of my budget range, so I couldn't get it. But for now, the XPS 15 is my laptop of choice, and this is what I use to record the content from my PS4. So that's that one. In terms of the Elgato, once you've got it all wired up and your laptop is on, there is a software that already comes with the device, and all you really need to do is open that software, get your settings up. I'll show you guys what my settings look like personally, and you have a choice here. Either you can use the preview, the real-time preview that it provides you in the software, or you can just get your audio directly from the TV that you're playing through. Now, even though the real-time thing is one of the selling features of the HD60S, it's never been that reliable for me, and it's caused me issue from time to time. So in terms of the software for me, I completely turn all the previews off once I'm sure that it's working properly, and I've got my headphones plugged into my TV so I get the original sound from there. And I obviously, I look at my TV as I play. I don't record through what I see on the screen on my laptop. So I just use it as simply just a recording device for the Elgato and my PS4. Obviously, the final thing is a hard drive. So I prefer to not record internally because the hard drive isn't that huge. And when you're recording PS4 content, the disk space fills up really, really quickly. So I like to have something external for it. This is a Western Digital My Passport Ultra that I found on a sale for like £47 or something like that back in the day. And this is what I use to record the content that's coming from my PS4, because I think every session is about 30 to 40 gig. And, when you're playing like RPGs or you're playing longer games, you can go like 15, 20, 25 sessions. And obviously that builds up to like terabytes of data. So this little 2 terabyte gizmo is enough for me to play through pretty much any game that I like. And this is the one that I use in order to record my content. So in terms of the PS4, that's pretty much it. These are the devices that I am using in order to do my recording. And so far, it's always worked well, and I haven't had too many problems with that whole thing. So that's my PS4 setup. The PC is a lot more simple. This PC is one from 2013. So back in the day, I wasn't really a PC gamer. I didn't come up playing PC games or anything like that. I was much more like console, PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, that kind of thing. Now, in 2013, YouTube was going better, and I wanted to try and up my production quality and start to make better videos, higher quality videos and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, I'm probably going to need a big PC, because in 2013, I think my laptop was a Dell Vostro 3550 or something like that. And again, for the time, it was a good laptop. Like, I can't knock it for anything. But in terms of like doing high level YouTube work, it really wasn't the right device to do the job. So I was like, it's time for an upgrade. So my friend at uni, Solomon, who is probably not watching this, but if he is watching it by some miracle, shout out to Solomon. He's a great guy, great friend at uni, and we still try and keep in touch even today. He was a bit of a whiz with computers. I didn't really know computers too well back then. And I was like, look, I need a hand with this thing. And he was like, yep, let's build you a PC because you're going to need one. And in terms of components, I tried to always go for like good components that I knew would be quite future-proof, but I didn't have the budget to build like a supercomputer with like multiple graphics cards and like, 16 core processors and all that kind of stuff. So in terms of components, instead of like talking about it for like 5 minutes, I'll list them out visually so you can see them. But what I can say about it is that the computer still runs perfectly well now. The components that I brought, I think genuinely were future-proof, because the processor still holds up well today, and it still does all the work that I need it to do. And even though it's 6 years on from when I first built it, the computer is still running strong today. So no complaints in that sense. There's a few upgrades that I did make along the way, and that's one of the advantages, obviously, of having a desktop PC like that, because With a laptop, your options are very limited. Maybe you can add some more RAM or something like that. But with this, you can upgrade the graphics card. Depending on your motherboard, maybe you can upgrade the processor, I'm not 100% sure. But you can upgrade your hard drives very easily, you can upgrade your RAM, and again, most importantly, the graphics card. So in 2016, the graphics card that I had was starting to slow down a bit, and because at the time it wasn't one of these like top of the range ones that could compete with like the best of the best, it was an upper mid tier, I would say. So after about 3 years, I started to notice that it was not really keeping up as well as it probably could. So I decided to upgrade the graphics card, and I got myself a GTX 1070, which is the graphics card that's currently inside the device. So aside from the graphics card, one of the things that I upgraded was the RAM, because I started off with 16, and I think again around 2015, 2016, as the workload got heavier, as I started doing bigger projects and that kind of thing, I was like, I should probably up this to 32, and that's exactly what I did. So currently it has 32 gigs of RAM in this thing. And aside from that, the graphics card and the RAM, the only other change in there is obviously hard drives, because as time goes on, you use up more and more, your requirements get greater, the data rate that you work with gets higher and all that kind of stuff. So I've got a couple more hard drives than I have when I started. So I've got the SSD for the operating system and all that kind of stuff. And I think right now I have a total of 3 hard drives in order to deal with all of my other data, so all the PC recording that I do, and my filmmaking work and all that kind of stuff. So that's the general gist of the PC. I'm looking to upgrade it in 2019 if I can, because it has been 6 years. It served its purpose really, really well. And I think slowly I want to edge more into the whole 4K thing. And this PC, the graphics card I have can handle 4K for a lot of games, but not at like the top level. And I think as time goes on, it's got four cores in the processor. I'd like to have more than 4 if I can. So in the year 2019, that'll be a goal of mine to hopefully try and build something that's more powerful and that can take me through like the next 4 or 5 years or so. Because even though it's been 6, it's not going to get me through another 5, I think, in terms of high quality YouTube content. So that's the gist of the PC. In terms of recording, it's quite simple. I have my games on Steam, obviously, and I have NVIDIA's Shadow Play. So you've got the GeForce Experience thingy, and you can adjust your settings in that to record it at whatever settings you like. And all you have to do is press a keyboard shortcut, and you are done, and you are already recording. For the mouse and keyboard, I have a mouse from Razer. I'll share the exact model name on the screen right now. Now, the keyboard was a Razer Death Adder or something like that, and it was a pretty expensive keyboard at the time, and I did use it for a while. But for me personally, I just couldn't get used to the mechanical keyboard side of things. So I brought a Corsair K40, which is a kind of budget to lower mid-range keyboard from what I remember. Like, it wasn't very expensive. I think it goes up to like K90 or something like that. There's like K50, K70, K90, something like that. But it doesn't have the clicky, like really loud switches on them. So, but it still works perfectly fine. I'll probably upgrade that when I upgrade the rest of my PC, I would say. So it'll be like a nice general overhaul. So I'll upgrade the PC, I'll upgrade the mouse and the keyboard and the monitor too. Now this is a good time to segue into my monitor, because this is actually my old PC monitor, and this is one that I use since 2014. It's a Samsung fairly budget 1080p 24-inch monitor, but it served me really well like throughout the years. I've never had any complaints with it. It's never let me down. But the time had come for me to try and seek out something bigger and better, because as I mentioned, I want to change the PC eventually, and I want to move on to more 4K content in the future. And obviously without a 4K monitor, you can't work with 4K content. So I was really lucky here, and I was contacted by BenQ. Now these guys were looking for people like me who needed such monitors to try out their monitor range, and if we enjoyed it, we got to keep it, and we would share our experience with you guys in using this monitor. So I gratefully accepted their offer because I was in need of a better monitor, and I was looking forward to trying it out. The name of the monitor is the BenQ EW3270U. The most important things that you guys need to know is that it is a 4K monitor. So I get to use and watch 4K for the first time on my computer monitor. The 4K experience in general has been really good, and I've definitely enjoyed seeing videos and seeing how games look in 4K for the first time. I would say the monitor is aimed more for people like me who don't need to play like really high frame rate FPS games. So if you're like a CSGO player or you play some other competitive game where having greater than 60 frames per second is important, then this isn't going to be the panel for you. But if you're like me and you don't need anything more than 60 frames per second, then this monitor is perfectly fine for all of your gaming needs, I would say. I've had a couple of weeks to play around with it and everything has been positive. The viewing experience has been really good. One of the main perks of having a big monitor with 4K resolution is all of that extra real estate on the screen. So before, if I wanted to have multiple panels out, when you have a 24-inch 1080p monitor, it's much more difficult to multitask with a single monitor. But when you have a 32-inch 4K monitor, then you can have multiple windows out and you can do things more simultaneously and just have them in front of you to see. It's just a much more convenient and efficient way to do what you need to do without having to switch tabs, and you can just shift your eyes around to see all of the information that you need to see on the screen. So I've definitely been enjoying that side of it. It does have HDR, so I've been able to see HDR for the first time. It does make a difference. It's not like the be-all end-all of visual greatness, but as someone who comes from a photography background and is interested in photography, HDR does make a difference. It does allow you to see more data. You get to see more of the highlights and more of the shadows than you would with a normal panel. So if you are looking into a 4K monitor, I would definitely recommend getting one that does have HDR functionality. So in that sense, it's been a good bonus as well. One of the best things I would say about this monitor and the way the technology has been developing in general is that they have ways in which to reduce eye strain. One of the things I like best about this monitor is the light sensor that it has on there, which enables it to adjust the brightness and the blue light levels accordingly based on how bright the room is. So if you activate this thing, you can activate it with a couple of presses of a button. And what that does, it will change the screen's brightness and the blue level based on the current ambient lighting situation in the room. So as someone who spends a lot of time in front of a monitor, and this is a big bright monitor that has a lot of information on the screen, your propensity to have eye strain is going to be larger. But with these kind of features that are starting to come into monitors now, you can activate these things and it will make it a little bit easier on the eyes. And even if it's like 10%, 20% less intensive for your eyes, if you think of that over the course of a day, where you might be staring at this monitor for 8 to 10 hours, maybe more, over the course of a week, year, many years, these kind of technologies I think are going to be good for protecting our eyes in the long run. So for people like me that spend a lot of time in front of these monitors, it's definitely a very useful feature and I've been enjoying using it so far. In terms of connectivity, it doesn't really have anything that I'm personally missing. It's got a USB-C, you've got your 2 HDMI connections and you have a DisplayPort connection. So you can have up to 3 different ways to connect your computer to the monitor. And that's plenty of choice for someone like me. I've not had any kind of situation with that. I really like the look of the monitor as well. I think, again, because my old one was quite budget and not really designed to be this like really sleek, expensive computer monitor, for someone like me, in relative terms, something like this just looks so much sexier and sleeker than my old one. I like the grey. I think like the kind of matte grey is a good look because it doesn't detract too much away from what's actually going on in the screen. The stand is rock solid. You've got a little bit of tilt motion there if you need to tilt your screen a little bit as well. And in general, I think I've really enjoyed the look and it suits my room quite nicely. So aesthetically, it's always a bonus. It's not essential. I don't really buy a monitor just because I think it looks good, as you can see from my old monitor. But if it does look good and it suits your setup quite nicely, then it's always a really big bonus. So thumbs up for the look as well. So yeah, this monitor is going to be my monitor for the foreseeable future. It does everything I need it to do. It's got the 4K resolution, and hopefully once my computer is upgraded to be able to match the 4K capabilities of my monitor in terms of being able to play like AAA games with that maximum really good quality, then we're truly going to be into like the modern age of gaming and content creation. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is not really going to do it justice because my camera is not a 4K camera. So obviously shooting a 4K output with a 1080p camera is not going to give you the same result. But just as a general thing, so you can see the kind of things that it can do, how it looks on my desk, the kind of functionalities that it has, that's the kind of thing that I can show you guys for this monitor. So thank you so much to BenQ for sending this to me. It was something I really needed, and it's an important piece in the puzzle of me upgrading my entire system to 4K. So that is my monitor, guys. Let's continue with the rest of the equipment and setup. The one thing that I will add is that I have a trusty PS3 controller here. This is like probably my favorite controller of all time. I love I love the PS3 controller. I don't know why. The PS4 one is really, really nice as well, but there's something about the PS3 controller that I've always just enjoyed. So I connect this thing up to my PC via a USB cable. I know that you can use the PS4 one with Bluetooth wirelessly, and I do that with my laptop when I'm doing recording in the UK. But when I'm here and I'm recording games from my PC, unless it's literally an FPS, in which sometimes I use mouse and keyboard, I generally tend to use this, and I have software that can make it mimic an Xbox 360 controller. So that's the one that I'm using when I'm playing like Final Fantasy 9 on Steam or Tomb Raider or those kind of games. So that is the hardware side of things. Okay, so now it's time for possibly the most important ingredient of this entire thing, and that is the commentary. Because most of you guys are watching this video are here because you watch and listen to my commentary content. So when I'm recording on the PC and the PS4, how do I do my commentary? And this, again, is much like everything else I've shown you guys so far. This is completely kind of how I've kind of figured it out and set it up. This is by no means like everyone should do it like this, or my way is the most efficient, the most optimal, the most cost-effective, or anything like that. But this is just like over the years, this is what I've done, and I've had a very similar setup for a long time, and it's always worked for me. So I've always just continued to just do what I do, because I'm a bit of a like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of person. So I've never had any complaints about the content I've created in terms of like the technical quality or like the quality of my audio, unless I literally have like a technical bug or an issue. Everyone remembers Final Fantasy 12, the session that I had where I sounded like I've got a bucket on my head, but that's another issue. That's not related specifically to the hardware, because it probably has like a 1% failure rate like everything does, and it was just one of them sessions. So let's talk about it. So when I was looking into what kind of setups people were using, there were basically kind of two options. There was either the desktop mic, where they had it literally just either on their desk, or they had it on like a swivel arm type thing, and they would kind of just put it in between themselves and their monitor, and they would play that way. Really, really good, like crystal clear audio quality. But when I saw that, I kind of, for the way that I like to play games, it felt a little bit restrictive to me, because as you're going to see from the B-roll and stuff, I like to kind of lean back, I like to put my feet up, I like to try and play on my couch when I can. And so this whole like, you know, sitting like the way I am, kind of quite formally in front of a desk with like a keyboard here, and this like thing in the way of you and the monitor, it kind of, it didn't feel as natural to me kind of thing, so I didn't like it as much. And I was like, can I not find another option? Because I didn't want to be like, so I'm sitting like this, now I kind of want to slouch, I want to do this, now I've got to swivel the arm to make sure it's still the same distance away from my face and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, you know what, I need a different solution. So back in 2012, when I first started to do commentary, it was a headset that I borrowed from a housemate at uni. So Chris, if you're watching this, shout out to you, man. Thank you for the headset. You helped me to make my first ever commentary videos. And I kind of got used to that whole thing, because if you've got quite a comfortable headset, it doesn't really, you don't really feel like you have it on. After you're playing for a little while, you don't have the feeling of having something like cumbersome on your head or anything like that. And you don't really see the mic that's like kind of here in your periphery. You're just completely zoned in. And I'm pretty sure for people that use desktop mics, it's the same deal. They don't literally see a mic in front of their face when they're playing. But just like in terms of personal preference, that's how I've always preferred to do it. So I used a headset for a time, but if you guys watch my videos from 2012 or so, the headset mic quality has never really been that great. And even today, like there's some that are really good now, like Sennheiser and stuff have started to put out some really good ones. But it's never quite been like that desktop mic, like broadcast quality microphone that I've been looking for. So for a time I was quite stuck, and I was like, am I going to have to buy a desktop mic and just kind of join this whole thing? Because audio quality is paramount. I mean, especially in this day and age, like if I was to record something that had really bad audio, that was kind of fuzzy and peaking and like clipping and all this kind of stuff, it's really not going to be a pleasurable experience for you guys. So I found a solution when I discovered this little thing. What you see here is called a mod mic. Now, mod mic was, I think I saw a video test of it when I was looking for like headset microphones, and I heard the audio quality of the mod mic, and I was completely blown away. I was like, is this for real? Like, this sounds pretty much as good as all these other desktop mics that I see all of these streamers and all these YouTubers using. So I was curious, and the mod mic 4.0, the first one I had, wasn't that expensive either. It wasn't going to break the bank. and I thought this is something I could definitely try. So the genius behind the mod mic is, of course, as you can see, I'm literally just holding a mic, but I've called it a headset mic. So what happens here is that I will obviously show you guys some closer B-roll as well. It has a magnetic piece here, and this magnetic piece is able to clip on to any pair of headphones that you use. So now I can transition into my headphones. I use a pair of Audio-Technica M40X's. So if you guys watch MKBHD, he was one of the first people that I ever saw that really like promoted and like talked about Audio-Technica headphones in a big way as like a popular YouTuber. So I saw that he really liked the M50s, the slightly bigger brother of these. And when I was looking for a pair of headphones to pair with these, I was like, as far as I can understand it, these are really good, cost-effective headphones that are very high quality audio, that are comfortable, that are durable, and that won't break the bank. So these are the ones that I got. I think, again, these are about 3 or 4 years old at least. And as you can see, they have wear and tear on them. So because I record a lot in the summer as well, I live in a hot country now where the ambient temperature can be as high as like 27, 28 degrees. And I don't have aircon in my room. I can sweat a lot when I'm playing games like late at night and that kind of thing. So over time, it has started to wear away. So the leather started to flake here. And for the ear cups, they used to be coated in like this leathery material, but that started to flake off, and I was like, you know what, why don't I just scrub it off completely? And that's exactly what I did. And I was left with this like really like nice and soft kind of felty, cushiony, fabricy thing. And I was like, okay, if these are still comfortable, I might as well wear them. So yeah, I got my Audio-Technica M40X headphones in. And when I'm playing on the PS4, so if I'm recording on the PS4, I will have to plug this into the TV. So this is not a hugely elegant solution, and you have like a lot of cables and stuff in the room. But for me, like the visuals of how my setup looks doesn't really matter to me. I'm just there to record what I want to record. So this is my PC cable because it's shorter. This one I plug into my PC. But if I'm playing on the the TV, I use my longer cable. So it comes with a 3 meter long cable, and it's able to stretch all the way across to my TV. And with that, I get to use the audio from my TV without any problems. So what you do is, as you would have already seen, I've got clips on both sides. So they have these like sticky magnetic pad things that you put on like the corner of your ear cup. And as you can see, they're not really that obtrusive at all. So if you only have one of them, I don't think there's anything wrong with like walking around on the street with these. If these are like your day-to-day music listening headphones, then it's really not a problem. That's literally all you need to have on it. I put one on both sides because sometimes I need to have my microphone clipped in on the other side. And literally all you do is you get your mic and you just clip it, man. You clip it and it's there. And you're done. So from the setup, you're going to have 2 cables. You're going to have your microphone cable and your headphone cable. So what I do in order to minimize interference and static and that kind of stuff is to use a cheap, unbranded USB 3.5mm dongle. On the one side, you've got the pink jack, which is where the mod mic goes. And on the one side, you've got the green jack, which is where your headphones go. And literally, like this, what you see right here, this is my commentary setup. So if I'm recording from the laptop, I will plug this into my laptop, into the USB slot. And if I'm recording from my PC, I will plug it into here, into the USB slot. And once I'm in, depending on which one I'm using, the software is still the same. So the software that I use in order to record the commentary that I do is called Audacity. Audacity is a free software. It's quite powerful for the fact that it's free. And literally, I just set up my microphone as best I can to make sure it doesn't peak and it doesn't clip. And then off I go. So it's really quite simple. So there we go. I mean, it's that simple. Once I've got it all set up, even though for the living room one especially, it doesn't really look that elegant, I just kind of kick back on my couch, you know, just stretch my legs or do whatever I want to do. And I just chill and I record my content. And it's always worked well for me, man. I've made 2,100 plus videos now, and I would say a good like 1,000 of them, more than 1,000 of them probably, were recorded with this sort of setup. Like maybe my location would have been slightly different, My headphones would have been slightly different. My laptop would have been a different one. But just generally speaking, it's always been a similar kind of setup for this kind of stuff. So it's always been something that's enjoyable for me to do, that has worked well for me, and that on the whole, considering how many different pieces of technology need to come together and how easy it is to have an issue with something. So like, you know, all you need is like the smallest audio issue where like the audio might, you know, you might have bits where the audio drops out, or there might be something like hissing in your microphone, or the frame rate might be incorrect. It might record in a variable frame rate, and then that messes up your synchronization. So all of these like different things that can go wrong. Despite all of this, with the hardware that I've shared with you so far, everything has worked pretty well. So I don't really have any complaints. So there you have it, guys. That is the equipment that I use and how I record my content for the channel. You know, everything that I have here is, on the one hand, is quite expensive. So you might think this might be quite daunting. You might think, okay, there's a lot of equipment. But at the end of the day, you could have a PC that is 6 years old like this one, that now if I tried to sell it would not be that valuable at all, aside from the graphics card perhaps. And you could pretty much do your entire YouTube thing just using this. Or you could do your entire YouTube thing using this. For me, having both of them gives me the luxury of being able to record in my living room, and of course to be able to play PS4 exclusives that I can't play on here. And obviously vice versa, because there's games on the PC that you can't play on your PS4 as well. So this allows me to cover a lot of bases. I can play a lot of different games, and I can play them in ways that I find most comfortable. So this is a setup. If you have any further questions about it, any technical questions or anything more that you want to know about what I've shared, do let me know in the comments and I'll help to answer them for you. And now that this is concluded, we can move on to the next part, which is going to be the editing of my videos. And because I talk about this editing often, but maybe you guys don't quite understand how it works, and we'll be discussing what program I use, how do I edit, why do I edit, and all that kind of stuff. So I will see you guys for the next part of this How I Make My Videos series, where we'll be talking about editing.